Hello and welcome to my new series called hiStory Time. To start things off, we bring you a British Victoria Cross winner from World War II. William Sidney was born on the 23rd of May 1909 to an aristocratic family and descended from King William IV through one of the King's mistresses. We won't go into that. He attended Eton College and then went to Cambridge and joined the Grenadier Guards as a reserve officer. During World War II, he had been part of the British Expeditionary Force fighting in France at the start of the war. However, the bit we're really interested in is his service later on in the war. On the 7th of February 1944, Sidney was serving as a company commander with the 5th Battalion, the Grenadier Guards, fighting at the Anzio beachhead in Italy. A contingent of enemy infantry managed to avoid the forward companies and advanced on less defended areas. They attacked and took hold of a gully that would offer them protection and a firing point from which to engage the Allied troops with little chance of being shifted. Sidney realised they needed to be got rid of before they could consolidate their position. He grabbed a 3-inch mortar crew and, using the mortar, submachine guns and grenades, charged into the galley and drove them from the battle. Having done that, he sent the mortar crew back to their previous position, while he and a few soldiers held on to the edge of the galley. At this point, the enemy decided to attempt another attack. Sidney and his small team managed to hold them off, except for a small group who managed to get into a ditch 20 yards from his position. He realised that from this point they could attack his position and outflank them, so he took the initiative and charged at them alone, firing his Tommy gun at point-blank range. We don't know how many men he killed, but the records simply state a number of dead enemy were left behind when the enemy retreated. Sidney returned to the galley and kept just 2 men behind with him and sent the others back to get more ammunition. While they were gone, the enemy attacked yet again. A grenade bounced off his face, dropped to the ground and then exploded. It wounded him in the thigh, seriously wounded one of the guardsmen with him, and killed the other. With his companions incapacitated, Sidney had to hold off the enemy by himself. He held them off long enough for the ammo party to return. With the group strengthened, both in number and ammunition, he didn't think the enemy would attack again, and he began his journey back to the lines to get his wounds tended to. However, the enemy did attack again, so he continued to fight for another hour while losing blood. At one point, he was shot in the buttocks. Only when the battalion's left flank was secure did he finally get his wounds attended to. He was very weak from loss of blood, but continued to inspire his men. He wasn't evacuated until nightfall because of how close the enemy were to his position. On the 3rd of March 1944, Sidney was awarded his Victoria Cross by General Sir Harold Alexander, commander of Allied armies in Italy. Sidney's father-in-law was the Lord Field Marshal John Gort, also a VC recipient, and the ribbon for Sidney's VC was reportedly made from a cutting of his father-in-law's uniform. Unable to continue serving due to his injuries, he went into politics, and in October 1944 he was elected as the Member of Parliament for Chelsea. In June 1945 his father died, so he inherited the title of Baron de Lisle and Dudley, which meant he had to retire from the House of Commons and move to the House of Lords. He would later become Secretary of State for Air under Winston Churchill. That was in Churchill's second time Prime Minister. And at the request of the Australian Prime Minister, Robert Menzies, he was made Governor-General of Australia. He was the last Governor-General to not come from Australia, and the last one to wear the vice-regal uniform. He retired from the position in 1965, but his interest in Australia continued, and he made several visits, the last of which was in 1988, for Australia's bicentenary. He was presented with a bronze statue at the event, which now stands outside Government House in Canberra. When asked about his wartime experiences and where he was shot, he would say that he was shot in Italy. He didn't like to admit that he'd been shot in the backside. He was the last Victoria Cross recipient to also be a Member of Parliament. To give him his full title, William Philip Sidney, 1st Viscount de Lisle, Victoria Cross, Knight of the Garter, Knight Grand Cross of the Order of St Michael and St George, Knight Grand Cross of the Royal Victorian Order, Knight of Justice of the Order of St John, and Privy Council of the United Kingdom, died on the 5th of April 1991, aged 81. You can really see why they limit all of those titles down to just a few letters. Anyway, I hope you have learnt something new today, and I look forward to doing next week's episode, which is on a particular military hero of mine from the US Army. See you then.